Hey guys, Man, back for another deck profile, and as you can see from the title, we are looking at Leopardmon, or as some know as Duftmon. So this deck is kind of weird. I got the idea from just watching a bunch of videos on just like green plant fairy decks, and then I randomly saw one that instead of essentially doing the whole, the normal bloomlord combo into like quartzmon and all that stuff, instead we run Leopardmon because instead of doing piercing and suspending something, instead he plays out something for reduced cost, and he can essentially bounce stuff, specifically a Leopard X. The original build that I had going forward was specifically running three of them, but after actually testing, surprisingly, you draw your cards really fast, especially with how much you evolve in this deck. Yes, that is kind of basically how green has been doing its thing, but in conjunction with a green memory boost and even a training, or just drawing in general, just searching, it's so strong and so fast. And not only that, we run both of the floodgate rookies that basically stop, I would say, about a majority of decks currently, because it prevents memory gain, and there's one that Pomumon specifically, that prevents reduced play cost of stuff. Well, sorry, it specifically prevents Digimon from being played by effects, and that is really crucial because currently there are a lot of decks that still abuse that mechanic. So Pomu actually like hard stops them, which is really good. Aside from that, we still kind of run the basic package. We do change around the champions or the level fours. Same with the level fives. We do kind of do a really weird thing, because I also saw another really crazy tech that potentially can protect your Leopardmon from any effects of your opponent's Digimon. So if you combo it properly, you potentially can make an basically an unaffected by Digimon Leopardmon, combining it with the fact that it just bounced something and plays something for a reduced cost. With some of the combos I've been able to do, I've been able to essentially bounce something with like 17,000 DP. So it is possible. You just have to be able to do it properly. And usually you finish out the game either with a Quartzmon or with the Secret Spice. Surprisingly, this build can also run Dinomon. So Dinomon, as you know, is a really powerful deck and has a lot of power behind it. But taking that power and putting it into the old, combining it with the old plant engine and the Leopardmon Beast Animal engine is insane. This deck just goes so fast. It's so crazy. Like, because of the previous tools being so good already, in conjunction together, they actually work pretty well. The only downside is that we can't run specifically the Palmon Searcher, which only searches plant, fairy, and vegetation, which is a majority of this deck, but most of the key crucial cards are not any of those three, so it's kind of hard to do that. Instead, we're running trainings and one green memory boost. I really wish I had scrambles for this, because if I did, I'd be able to use it specifically for this deck, but sadly I don't have a green scramble yet, so whatever. But anyway, let's actually get into the deck profile so I can show you what I mean. So the first deck, of course, you can see my sleeves, the old monster girl from Monster Musume. But yeah, so first off, I don't have all three alt arts, but they are basically the same egg. The Kokomon from EX4, really solid, because when you push up and then you have a Palmon already on this, you basically suspend their guy by evolving into Palmon X, then you go into, say, I would say a Togemon, and then you can play a free Mimi, the 3-cost Mimi, and then that will trigger this effect to suspend. And basically, whenever you suspend a Digimon by effect, you basically get to draw one. So getting the extra draw one can potentially get you into your level 6 or your level 5, so really crucial. And then the last deck we run is just one Argomon, because Argomon is just really cool because a lot of your Digimon are going to be unsuspending on your next turn. So if you have this underneath one of your stacks, specifically your main stack, you can just go, oh, okay, I gain an extra memory alongside the Mimi memory setters. So you have 4 memory starting. And for a green deck, 4 memory is insane. So Argomon is just that really cool one-off that we rock just in case for certain situations, and long games specifically, especially if we're playing like against a control deck like Purple, specifically Purple Hybrid, Valgriloop. This is actually pretty crucial sometimes, because I have been able to win with just that last stack specifically. For rookies, we run exactly 12. First off, as I mentioned before, we are running the Palmon from BT14. This Palmon is still like the best rookie for plants and vegetation, because the fact that you can just target something and then suspend it later with its evolution in Palmon X, you just get an extra 2 memory. So they're like, oh, I'm going to set you to 1. No, now I'm at 3. Now I can start doing my plays. So it's really cool. And of course, its inherit is really cool because whenever you have a green tamer out, you get to reduce your Digivolution cost by 1. So you just play out, like, say, your Mimi, and then you get that extra suspend with the level 4, and then you get to gain a memory off of the tamer and reduce the cost. So it basically becomes like a 1 or 2 evolution, depending on what level you're going into. Then we run 3 Palmon X's, as I keep mentioning. This thing is just really amazing. In conjunction with this Palmon, it's just really strong. Sometimes you do have to evolve into this, but it does actually boost you because since we're running the Togemon at maximum amounts, this effect will always go off because you just go, oh, Digivolve, and then you do Togemon's your turn effect, and you gain an extra memory. So then you go, okay, cool, it just paid for itself. So it's just a 1 cost level 4 evolution, which is really strong. So regardless, even if you evolve into this, you're pretty much Gucci. Then we run 3 Terriermon because a lot of decks have been gaining a lot of memory and abusing that. So this actually does kind of stop Imperial from not passing turn. Basically, if you have this out, they suspend it, yeah, and you can't suspend your guys, but hey, it's now your turn, and now you can get rid of that Imperial Dramon or Pyodramon. You basically just go, okay, I yeeted it, okay, it partitioned, okay, I'm going to get rid of those pieces so you can't do another Jogress next turn. So Terriermon is really crucial nowadays. Then we run, of course, 2 Pomumon because this also does stop Imperialmon. Imperial Dramon specifically, Dinomon. It stops a lot of decks that love playing Digimon by effects, so this is really crucial. And you can play this for free basically half the time off of your level 6s, your level one of your level 5s. It's just really great. And then for the last rookie, we run 1 Lopmon because giving Alliance can really help boost this deck, especially because if you play it correctly, you should have a ton of bodies on board, and you should be able, in conjunction with Lopmon, you should be able to give Leopardmon X or Dinomon Alliance, which will boost it, especially with the level 4s being 4,000 or 3,000 and higher. It's going to be hitting for 16 for 3 checks, which is really insane because it already gets an automatic security +1 anyway. So another one plus Alliance is just insane. Yeah, that's basically all the rookies we run. We run exactly 12. Really good number. I don't skimp any lower than this. There are some builds that I saw that run only 10, and I don't like that. I personally believe that every deck needs to run at least 12 because there are so many moments where you just don't see a rookie. For level 4s, as I mentioned before, we're running maximum amounts of Togemon because this one lets us basically play a Tamer for free by suspending it, which is really powerful. And then, of course, it has the same inherent effect as Palmon, where it basically reduces the cost as long as you have a green Tamer, and it basically does that anyway by default if you play a Mimi, so pretty strong. Then we run 4 of the Sunflowmon from BT13. This one is still really crucial because it can suspend itself to reduce the cost of a next evolution into a fairy or it's basically a Digimon with fairy in its name. So you can basically go into most of your level 5s for pretty cheap, especially if you're going into, say, like a Lilymon. It's really strong. But aside from that, its inherit is still basically the same as Togemon, which does give you a free reduction as well by 1, so pretty strong. Then we run 1 Togemon X as kind of like a tech. The cool thing for anybody that does not know what this card does, because not many people use it, I use it as a one-of because it's just really powerful. When Digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon can't unsuspend until the end of their turn. If Togemon or X antibody is in this Digimon's sources, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So basically, you already get to stun them, but then you also get to suspend something by default anyway. And of course, your turn, when this Digimon gets 1,000 for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. So if you manage to suspend their whole board, you basically get to go, oh, okay, cool, I'm just going to boost myself even higher. And in conjunction with, say, Dinomon, who can also suspend stuff, or any of your Palmon X, you just go, okay, cool. And of course, since we're running Quartz, this also does give us a huge boost. Then, of course, we run one of the Sunflowmon from BT10 because this one on suspension you get to play a plant, vegetation, or fairy that's 3000 DP or less, which is basically most of this deck aside from the Terrier and Lotmon, but that's fine. So pretty solid. As you can see, we're running 10. This is the usual number I run for all my level 4s champions. Sometimes you can go down to 9, but that really, really depends on the deck. But 10 for this deck feels very comfortable, feels very solid. For level 5s, we of course are still running 3 of the Agitarmon. Agitar, even though some of this deck is not vegetation, it's still really strong. It can play out any of the level 4s for free. It can play out 3 of the rookies for free as well. And of course, whenever you suspend one of your own Digimon with its effect or with any effect, you basically get to gain a memory through its inherit, so pretty strong. Then this is where the deck gets really spicy and kind of weird. We run 2 Grangalemons. This is the Digimon I mentioned before that gives us immunity. With how this card works, you could just go, oh, I'm going to Digivolve with the training. It goes for 1. I suspend something on the board that I played off of one of these guys. And then I go, okay, cool. I'm going to just make him immune. And then I'll swing into your guy with Dinomon. Okay, cool. He unsuspends. He does another 2 checks. Okay, now you only have 1 security. Okay, cool. I pass turn by playing down a Floodgate rookie. Okay, good turn. And then you basically just go, okay, GG, game 2. It's insane how busted this is in conjunction with Dinomon, despite the fact that it's not a dinosaur, it's not a reptile or anything. But with how this deck can multitask between these 3 different engines, it's really crazy. But yeah, you have to run 2 of this. This guy's really strong. He gives you that good old immunity. Then we run 1 Blossomon because Digizorption, still busted, and why it's at 1 copy. Then 1 Lilymon Ace because sometimes we do leave out a lot of level 4s usually. So this does go off pretty easily. It can stop a rookie from basically like going for game, which is really cool. So I do run just 1 copy just in case. And that's basically all the level 5s we run in the deck. For level 6s, we run a few. So I'm actually just going to condense these down so that we can make some room. Because as you can see with how my camera setup is at all times, there is a glare. I do plan to fix that in the future, but yeah, that'll be later in the future. For level 6s, we, of course, run the 2 Leopardmon, my 2 AAs from the Royal Knight version. Very strong card. The fact that it can just play a green Digimon or Royal Knight trait 1 for a reduced cost of 4, and all turns when you play another Digimon, all of your green and or Royal Knight Digimon gain blocker until the end of the opponent's turn. So if you already have a gigantic field, you just made them all blockers. So basically, they can't get through unless they stun it. But that's usually if they have the Hexplow. But even then, it's pretty strong. Then we have, of course, the 2 Leopardmon X's. This guy is still really hilariously strong. Like, I don't know why people don't play him more. He's so good because the fact that he can bounce, and it's a when Digivolving main once per turn effect, he can use it on your turn for free and bounce something that they just played the past turn. So it's just really great how it works. And of course, if he has Leopardmon underneath, he can reduce the cost, so he can play a 7 cost card for free sometimes. It's insane. Let's just move that over there, actually. Then I don't have the Dinomons yet. They're going to be coming in the mail, but I'm running just 2 copies of Dinomon. But as you guys know, Dinomon is just really strong. The fact that he has a basic security attack +1 on play and when Digivolving, he just suspends any Digimon, including himself. So you can actually turn him into a wall. So no matter what, you're basically guaranteed to just stop them at some point with a blocker or with Dinomon. Not only that, is that he can basically delete something or one of your opponent's lowest suspended Digimon. So you can basically take out a rookie that they were planning to use while also punching through and killing their guy in conjunction with the level 5 of Grangalemon, making him immune. So even if they try to like Paradramon Ace you or whatever, or Imperial Dramon Fighter Mode Ace you or whatever, or Paladin Mode, whatever, or Fighter Mode Ace actually, you can just go, nah, bro, this guy's still immune, so you can't really do anything about that, and he's still gonna punch through and do damage. He's just a really busted card, and I don't really understand why I didn't notice it before that you could actually incorporate him into this engine. Then we run 2 Cherubimon Aces. This guy is really cool. I'm super glad that I have the AAs of him because he's still really strong. Just like Leopardmon, he can play a green or yellow, or a green Digimon specifically. We don't really have yellows, but green covers most of this. without paying the cost. And then until the end of your opponent's turn, one of their Digimon gets minus 4,000 for each of your Digimon. If you leave out a level 5 and they try to rush in, this can potentially just kill their stack instantly. Because of how this deck works and how it's always worked, you can basically set up a board of like 7 or 8 guys in one turn sometimes. It's insane how much this deck can go off, especially if you have enough memory and know how to use very specific effects. So this can potentially be lethal every single time when it comes out. And not only that, in conjunction with Leopard and Leopardmon X, you can play this for free. As you can see, it's a 7 cost. So you could just play this after you've spammed the board with Leopardmon X and just wipe their board in the process. It's insane. Then we run, of course, the one Medieval Gallant. Every deck needs to run this. If they can run it, because it's just so strong. Because on play, you just get to kill something. You get to suspend it and kill something. So it's just so strong. I wish I had more copies. I only have 1 copy for like all my decks. I really hope to get 1 more just in case. But for now, we just run the 1. And yeah, that's basically all the level 6s that we run. That's about 2, 4, 6... 8, 9 level 6s, which is a little bit overboard, but all of them just have so much value. It's kind of hard not to run them. Then for level 7s, we only run 1, and that's Quartzmon. Quartzmon is still the GOAT. Yes, he's easy to remove, but if you have Grand Galemon, they're basically forced to use an option to kill this thing. And most options that can get rid of this are usually pretty high in cost, like a 7 to 8 cost, maybe 9 cost option just to get rid of this guy. And in that process, they're basically passing turn to you and giving you a ton of memory for a green deck to be abusing. So really strong. And he's one of your main Digimon, aside from Dynamon, that basically finishes the game for you. The rest of the deck is just option and tamer, so let's just quickly go through that. First off, we're running the 3 agility trainings because this helps us reduce cost. It helps us search. Very solid card. You have to run at least 3 copies of this. Then we run 1 memory boost because memory boost, plus 2 memory, still very solid. And then the last option is, of course, HPD. Very self-explanatory. Suspend something, makes your next evolution -5. It triggers a lot of the effects in this deck. I've basically drawn 3 cards off of just playing this card one time and gaining like 2 memory in the process because of the Mimis. So pretty strong card. Then we have 3 Mimis because this Mimi is probably the best one aside from the original 4-cost memory setter. And speaking of her, we also run 2 of her. She helps us set up a new stack because, as you've noticed, I don't have Scramble. As I mentioned, I do not have Scramble. So she's basically my Scramble at this point. So she's still really busted to this day. And having 2 of her on the board is actually basically game because you can just go, oh, I'm just going to make another one. Okay, I'm going to push up. Okay, game. Like, it's so powerful. And then this Mimi gains you memory whenever you suspend your Digimon, or actually any Digimon, I believe. Just when it suspends any Digimon, so you just get to gain a memory. Not only that, it searches basically like 80% of the deck because it searches plant, vegetation, and fairy. So basically the whole deck, aside from some of the level 6s and some of the level 3s. But aside from that, she's a very solid tamer, and she can be played for free, as I mentioned, because of Togemon. So really busted. That's basically the deck. This deck has some really crazy matchups because surprisingly, Bloomlord, or just the engine of the plant, like the plant engine itself, alongside like Dynamon and this, is actually really strong coming up in BT20 because a lot of decks, they have immunity, like Gallantmon, Royal Knights, sure, they can like set up a big board and they can remove your stuff, but at the same time, you can swarm the board so fast that they basically can't really do anything about it. Yes, they do have Omegamon X. Yes, he is very strong, and once I do get copies, I will potentially run it in this deck as well because of the fact that I now have red. I have red sources. I have the Dynamons that you can basically evolve on top of. So it's like, this deck has so much versatility, it can adapt to a lot of things. And specifically, I highly recommend, if you do intend to try this deck out, I recommend just whenever you build it, change it to however your locals is. Because yes, you can bring it to a big tournament and see at least relative success, but the thing is that you'll be having to like deal with every single matchup, which there's like a few matchups in this format that are just really bad for it. Royal Knights is really tough. I know that for sure. Currently, with how the meta is, Mirage is still really strong against it, but that's because of the fact that Mirage is just broken because the fact that it can't be blocked, the fact that it can bounce endgame memory just like you is really strong. Um, Against purple loop, it's actually kind of harder because since you're drawing so much from the evolutions, you potentially can deck out just like they can, and potentially they can deck you out. So you have to be really careful with that matchup. Against Dynamon, you kind of just go, okay, cool, because you just have such a big board. They can't really get rid of your board enough to the point where they can go for the game, especially if you have Leopardmon out. You can just bounce them and they basically can't do anything, especially because Dynamon's Fortitude only activates when it's like deleted from the board, not when it's just removed from the board. So with Leopardmon X, you basically get around him and you just bounce him off the board and you just don't care. Unless they do have unless they did evolve through the Metal Tyrannomon, if they don't evolve through that, they basically are kind of dead in the water, so they can't really do anything about it. Potentially, you could actually run Metal Tyranno as well in this as well because of the fact that you're running Dynamon. So it's just really crazy how this deck works. Um, but yeah, aside from that, yeah, no, just I would honestly try this deck out. It's amazingly fun. Yes, it is kind of wonky with how it is, but that's why I say you can modify it, like tinker with it and adapt it to how you want it to go. This is just how I've built it so far. Obviously, I'm gonna change it a little bit because potentially this Sunflowmon might be better than this one because of the fact that it only goes into fairies, and as you can see, most of your level fives are not really fairies. They're mostly vegetation and like in this case bird avians. So it's kind of weird to run that when you could just run this and suspend and like basically play out a free rookie or play out a 3 level 4 and just kind of start setting up. So it's kind of wonky. I'm gonna tinker with the ratios. But yeah, as usual, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching as usual. I know I've been gone for a while, but I do get burned out on this game, and I do, have to take breaks. And usually, for me, as I've noticed, I usually take 3 month breaks. So after the 3 months, I'm basically usually back. So just expect me to come back every once in a while, especially with how it is. But currently, I'm fully back, and I will be making more profiles, especially once the new set is fully released. Currently, I do have basically all the cards for the decks I plan to be showcasing on the way, but currently they are still in the mail. They're like about an hour away apparently in the city, so I don't know. Maybe it'll come tomorrow as of this recording, but after that, I'll be showcasing those and showcasing, of course, this deck because I do plan to play it more because it's the bloomlord version does have a presence, but I feel this is actually stronger than bloomlord. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.